Hi, everyone. Hi, welcome to another episode of the Dream Podcast, live on Fireside. Welcome to those joining in for the recording or on YouTube. And let's get this thing started. So, today I am going to talk about DNA upgrades, and I'll explain what this means to me in a bit. But first, I wanted to do the lotus breath that we always start out with. So let's take our time to close our eyes and do the six-pointed lotus breath. So you're going to imagine that you're breathing in from six areas, to six different areas: top, bottom, left, right, front, and back, like a lotus flower. And focus on any area that you would like to breathe into your body. And you're going to imagine that you're breathing in not only air, but also energy. Okay? So here we go. One. Breathe in, petals close. Breathe out, petals expand. Breathe in, petals close. Breathe out, petals expand. Breathe in and out. Okay. So, and I do want to say that this breathing technique is not only to get centered and to regulate the nervous system, but also it helps reverse mutate our DNA. Okay, because that is an eternal life practice technique. Okay, the six-pointed lotus breath. Most of the time, we're told to breathe two ways, or so this one is six, and you're also imagining that you're bringing in energy, right? And it's the other purpose of it too is to reclaim your energy, right? Instead of letting it kind of be dispersed all over the place, because we are in a system in which other beings will feed off of your energy. So to reclaim that energy, you just bring it in, with that lotus breath. So there you go, just for the extra information for those of you who did not know that. That is a very powerful breathing technique. Okay, practice it anytime you want, and yeah, see how you feel. Okay, so let's get started here. I also wanted to make sure that I share this event. There we go. Okay. Okay, so first I want to do a quick energy check-in as to what's been going on in my immediate reality and just how I feel the energies. I've been sick this entire week. Oh my gosh, I don't know if I had COVID or what, but I'm just barely getting better, and you can still probably hear it. I'm like still a little stuffy, barely getting my sense of smell and taste back, and yeah, it's been really interesting. But I take this as DNA upgrades, honestly, and when you start seeing everything that happens to you uh, as an opportunity to grow, you will see that these things happen because you are expanding, because your body is accreting higher frequencies. So it has to do something, in order for it to actually integrate, those higher dimensional frequencies. Our bodies sometimes, it's like, oh, they react, in a certain way. It could be, and we talked about this briefly too last time when Filipa was here with us. She has this happening a lot as well. She either gets sick or something happens. And I was talking about it with another person I know as well, from Mexico. A good friend of mine, she was saying how certain symptoms show up in her body, and she identifies right when it happens, and it's always around a moment of transformation, right? So DNA upgrades can be seen in the form of, like, maybe you have certain hot flashes, in your body. It could be like fever. I had fever like for 3 days, and and then your body also does things like it vibrates. You feel like you're vibrating or like you're buzzing a lot, and that was definitely happening, and it's still happening, especially during nighttime. This could also relate to things with the astral body. So, I'm still investigating on what it could be, because I am also doing a lot of dream work lately before bed. So it could also be related to this. It doesn't necessarily have to be just DNA upgrades, but I know I was feeling a lot of like body vibration and buzzing, in previously, when I was having a lot of upgrades happening during the day. So this one is happening a lot during the nighttime. That's why I'm like going to investigate a little more of like what it could be. Um, but you can also feel this during the day sometimes. Or what I've been feeling a lot lately too is like a buzzing, but like around my ears. It's like this sort of like weird noise, of, as if, I don't know how to explain it really. It's almost as if it was like this machine or something like buzzing next to my ears. um, that is a really funny feeling. So that, there's a lot of stuff that can happen. People will experience it different ways as well, but and it's like, well, Ishel, how do you know that it's actually DNA upgrades and not something else? Like, this is just, you just know. And also, you get it confirmed. You get it confirmed through other people. Because let's say, for example, what happened was, like, I was telling somebody, oh, I'm sick, I don't feel so well, and then they were like, oh, you're probably going through some upgrades. So I'm like, yes, thank you for confirming that, because I was like wondering, like, yeah, this is something, the expansion moment. And then I was listening to this lecture, about where we were talking about DNA upgrades and stuff, and they were saying something about, yeah, you get hot flashes in your body, when you're, this is like a telltale sign, that you're going through some DNA upgrades. So I'm like, yeah, that makes sense. So it's like, you get it confirmed. You go through things, you experience them, and then you're feeling like, this could be something different. It's not just, for me, whenever, like I said, whenever something happens, when I get sick or anything like that, I see it as an upgrade. It has to be an upgrade, because I haven't gotten sick since a long time ago, and I've been taking care of my body a lot more and everything, and it just came out of the blue. But it also came in a moment where I know that I was integrating a lot of things, and changing a lot of things in my mindset and stuff as well. So after, you get these upgrades as well, you will start seeing other phenomena happen, like, or during the time you're getting the upgrades too. It's like people from your past start coming back into your life. I've seen this like many times. Like, I feel like, oh, I'm going through some upgrades, like things are shifting, and then people start coming in like from years ago, like just finding me randomly on social media and stuff. Or like, a next also next of mine was looking at my stories, and I'm just like, I haven't seen this person in 4 years. How did they even find me? So it's like you start attracting people from your past, when you're doing all these upgrades and transformations in it. So see, there's a lot of like little signs, of how we know that these are upgrades, and it's not just like, whatever. And also, I know that I wasn't sick because of something that I neglected within myself, except maybe, I was overworking a little bit, so maybe I was a little stressed out. But in the end, I think it was definitely not so much of a stressed kind of feeling, but more of a like, just kind of like, oh, there's so much to take in, a lot of information and a lot of things that were changing within myself as well. So your body definitely needs to take a break, right? You need to really relax and let all those codes come through. So yeah, if you're not willing to take the time to rest, the universe will just be like, okay, you don't want to do it, so we're gonna make you do it. Your higher aspects are always watching out for you. You're, like I've said many times before, you're creating this. And when I say you, it's not just this physical body and this, what you perceive here, but also your higher aspects that are working with you in order to align you with your highest potential always. Since you've decided to do that, your highest aspects are always going to be orchestrating something, on your behalf, for you to be aligning with, yeah, with that higher timeline, right? um yeah, so amongst all the stuff that I've been researching lately, I did want to share a few things, because yeah, it's really interesting. For example, these whole, like, the body vibrations and stuff that happen at night. I was reading in a book. Actually, I don't know if you guys remember, if you saw the episode I did. Was it episode 6? I think it was episode 6, lucid dreaming. And then I had and then I got sick, and also I did episode 6.5 on my on my podcast. I just recorded something. I didn't come on here on Fireside, but and then there was the other Sunday. I didn't even have the energy to come on here. So there we go. And so I was with Deborah Barsha, and she was saying about this book called Journeys Out of the Body by Robert Monroe. So I decided to check out the book, and it was actually very interesting. Like, well, I haven't finished it, but it's very intriguing. And for me, it's like, wow, I was super surprised, because for me, it was confirming a lot of things that I had already thought about, myself, but that I wasn't even so sure about, or that nobody had really confirmed in this physical reality, but that I kind of had the notion that that's what was going on. And one thing was, it like sparked this like huge remembrance, because this guy was saying that he has also these vibrations at night. That's why I'm like thinking, well, it could be DNA upgrades, and it could also be um, my astral body kind of awakening more. But in the same time, it is, because when you upgrade your DNA, you get access to more of your higher dimensional senses, and also you feel things happening in your body more easily. So it could be, that this is part of the DNA upgrade. It's me having access more to these bodily sensations, where maybe it happens all the time, right? We leave our bodies all the time, but I feel like I do want to have more direct control over how this happens and when it happens. And this book is super interesting, because this guy actually has control a little more than I way more than I do, actually, on where he goes, and yeah, what he does during these out of body experiences. And so here's what I was thinking about, is like, I was I remember when I was in Egypt. I'm going to Egypt at the end of the year, which is going to be pretty amazing. But I was in Greece like 2 years ago, and the people kept telling me, "Hey, we know you. Like, we've seen you here. Weren't you here before already?" And I was like, "No, I have never been here before. This is so weird." And one time, one person told me, and I'm like, "Oh, okay, that was strange. Maybe I was here in a past life, And it's like, I know I've had past lives in like Egypt. I'm pretty sure I was in Greece, And oh, hi, Mark. Hi, Truthful. So I was thinking, why are these people telling me that they've seen me here before? And I'm like, it could be that. Then I went somewhere else, and another person told me the same thing. I'm like, really? Like, maybe there's another person that looks like me around here. I don't know. Or they're like, no, but yeah, we've seen you here before. And so I was thinking, this could be, when I was reading this book, I was like, this sounds to me like, when you leave your body, you can definitely visit different places when you're sleeping. And I had very oftentimes had dreams where I was, because I went to Mykonos, and Mykonos has a bunch of beaches all over the place. And I was like, I had a bunch of dreams all the time where I was at a beach, and I was doing things with people there and events and stuff. So I'm very active in areas that have beaches in them, right? So I was like, that is totally a possibility, that people see you as if you were there, even though you're not. You're actually in dream state, and it's kind of like by location, right? And so in this book, that I was reading, and this is what I love about it, right? It's like sources of information will confirm things that you don't go out there and like chase after the information. You let the information come to you, Okay, so that's what the cool thing about living the information is, right? It's like, that's what I call living the information. It's like I'm not gonna go and learn things. I'm gonna see, I'm gonna look within myself, experience things, and then things are gonna come to me and confirm that or not, or lead me somewhere else. So in this book, the guy was saying that he had felt his body vibrating, right? And then he left his body, went and was visiting New York or something, and this experience he had. And then he came back into his body, and somebody in New York had actually seen him there. They were saying, "Oh, we saw you were having coffee at this place at 7 a.m." The exact time where he had the body vibrating experience. And so I'm like, that is just so crazy. And I've definitely had like also experiences where, but so this is very messy still, right? It's like I'm still not able to direct the energy very well or to control where my body goes. So this is also part of why I'm, doing these observations and these experiments before bed, to see if there's a way that we can like, yeah, have a better creative control over what happens in our dream state, which I'm pretty sure we can. And so I've had instances, for example, where I can see, like, right before I'm about to go to bed, I see people doing stuff. And it's really weird. Sometimes it's like people I don't even know, for the most part, actually. And the other day, I was seeing this lady put stuff in a trunk, and and then there was this older guy walking like next to her, and that she was getting in the car, and it looked like from the 20s or 30s or something. It was like I was visiting a whole different era. And I'm like, oh, maybe this is a past life or something. It doesn't have to make sense right now, but I'm gonna, record this information, and see, right? Because when Deborah Barsha was visiting, it was here on stage, she was telling us like how she noticed after 30 years of writing down her dreams how she's psychic. And it's not, we can all be psychic. It's Some of us are like more naturally psychic than others, but everybody can, train, you can train your psychic abilities. And because we all have this capability, as a higher dimensional perception skill. Okay, so she looked at her dreams and she's like, I'm psychic. She's like, because yeah, I mean, you definitely tap into higher frequencies. So the higher frequencies are future timelines, right? And sometimes we access lower dimensional frequency, which is past memories and stuff. So, to process emotions and things like this, we will access those things. And these can be probable timelines. It doesn't have to be exactly what happened, or it's not necessarily exactly what will happen, because imagine, like, you've got the now, and it's like, all these other timelines are like past and future. There's a bunch of them happening at once, but there's a lot of them. So when you access these in dreams, you're like tapping into something that might happen, and sometimes it could be a little crazy, because of how, the distortions that we've suffered through our DNA. Talking about DNA upgrades, that is why we can't really see things very clearly sometimes, or it's like very jumbled up. It's because of those distortions that we have suffered in our DNA, especially in the emotional body, which is the dimension 2. So we see everything that comes in from our super conscious mind, and the emotional body is like all jumbled up. So, but then there's always the possibility that something similar might happen. So you will notice years later that you were actually predicting the future in a way. So I'm like, yeah, I'll write down everything. Maybe years from now I will, I don't know, somehow find out that I had a past life, in the 20s, or something. I think I did, because I've gotten like clues. I've gotten several, I've popped into several of these dreams where I'm like in the, yeah, in the 20s, 30s, sometimes the 50s as well, where I'm doing things, and it seems so real, and it's like I'm meeting different people from, possible past lives, and all these things that I am processing, and so it's really interesting. Anyway, so this book, I really do recommend it. It's called, what did I say? Journeys Out of the Body by Robert Monroe. If you guys are interested, because yeah, it's like it's a real life story. It's not just, someone talking out of their ass. It's like this guy really went through a lot of things, and he confirmed through several of his experiences that we are definitely able to visit different realities when when we learn to consciously travel, right? So, and hi, Patrick. And so, yeah, that's what I wanted to share about, like, what's been going on lately, because I haven't been remembering my dreams much lately, and I know a lot of people have a difficult time remembering their dreams too. So I was thinking, yeah, that is definitely something that can be worked on. And because these dreams give us a lot of valuable information, and the messages are really potent, especially nowadays. We've got some really interesting alignments happening in the sky. And so, as somebody was telling me, because I've talked with a few people about this, and I was like, there's some sort of frequency fence or something, some sort of like blockage somewhere, and that makes it so that certain people don't have access to their dream state much. Even people that are highly coded and that have practiced DNA upgrades and activations, even those people are having a difficult time remembering their dreams. So, speaking of DNA upgrades, when you work on yourself and you meditate and you connect within your own coding, you will get the keys literally to unlock your DNA and start getting more messages, not just in dream state, but even in waking state, right? You create this clear line between you and your higher aspects. You clear it as much as possible, but even then, there are definitely some frequency fences that are being put, and we're living in a planet that makes it literally impossible to obtain, like the highest levels of mastery. Yeah, we're living in a planet that it's like we've got this like huge this thing called the nets. I think it's a Niberian electrostatic something. I forget the T what the T is, but that's one thing. We've got the electromagnetic fields, like the 5G and all that stuff, that is also blocking our senses and our higher dimensional senses. So, but despite all that stuff, when you decide that you want to connect, that you want to get that guidance, you will, it's just, you can't miss out on anything. And I was saying this before, like, you can't really go wrong on this path. It's like some people are thinking, oh man, like, I feel like I'm behind, you're always comparing ourselves to what other people are doing, and it's like, oh, what has this person achieved? Why can't I do that? It's like, but you can't really go wrong here. It's like you're going at your own pace. What's important is really to keep that intention, right, of wanting to connect with your higher aspects more, because you will get the answers to do it. It's all a matter of that internal GPS. Like I always say, it's always there. And sometimes we take detours, and then they're like, oh, maybe I want to go experience this, and then all of a sudden you for a few months maybe you're just like completely off your path, but it's okay. Time bends, literally, it does. And I can tell you this by personal experience. Like, I spent years before I decided to wake myself up, like doing, and in French we would say n'importe quoi, is like doing whatever, and completely lost. And then all of a sudden, the day I was like, okay, this is enough. I really want to connect, and be myself, like be my truest self. A bunch of things started happening. Things started falling apart. My body was accreting so much DNA activations and energy that it's like I felt like I was high, like every single day. It was so interesting because I literally got fast tracked, and that's what happens because it was like, I was already delayed, quote unquote, right? I could have started that path years before, and maybe it would have been gradual, and I would have met, certain people at a certain time, and blah blah. But then all of a sudden, I just started meeting a bunch of new people. I started doing a bunch of things that were just like, wow. At some point, it's like, okay, whoa, 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 this is too much at the same time, but it was a roller coaster ride. It was really fun. It is still a roller coaster ride for the most part. but you do get fast tracked if you're quote unquote delayed, and when you're trying to get ahead, you will get slowed down. That's why I feel like I also kind of got sick last week, is because I was like, like what else can I do? What else can I learn? What else can I, change on my website? Blah, blah, blah. And then you start getting like, no, okay, time to slow down, time to integrate the DNA upgrades, time to like really let your body recover, because yeah, it takes a lot of energy to do these things. And emotionally, physically, it's like some people tend to think that the more you do outside, the more you go and do at your job, or the more you say, the more you will grow. But that's not true. It's literally the more you look within yourself, and the more you're quiet, and the more you listen, that's when growth happens the most. So yeah, sometimes you have to get sick in order for that to happen. So yeah. And what was I gonna say besides that? So yeah, DNA upgrades, right? What else can I tell you guys about the DNA upgrades? Because there's so many ways, that you can do this. And I know certain techniques, some of you might not know these. They're also on my webpage if you guys want to check them out, or feel free to contact me if you want to know more information, because that is one of the ways that you can start this process, is to start doing specific techniques. I would suggest first by really just tuning in, like asking, what do I need? Where should I look? What should I do in order for my body to start unlocking that highest potential? And you will start getting things happening in your life in the form of synchronicities. You can also ask this, right before you go to bed. When you go to bed, right before you do a short meditation, you write things down, you ask the question, write it down. Writing things down is a great way to ground actually the information that happens in the dreams, and also to ask questions. I found it super powerful to do that. Like I said, I'm doing several experiments to see what works better. One of the best weeks that I've had in like getting information from dreams and recalling them better was writing things down right before bed, and where I wanted to go. Like what did I want to see? There was one where I might do. I keep saying I'm going to do a workshop, and it's still like I don't know yet. The cake is still baking, But there was one where I would focus literally on a certain area, like a chakra in my body, and I would visit that specific energy that it was holding. Right. Sometimes when there was a certain blockage there, it would show me, right, like, oh, there's a blockage here, with even a person or a thing. But and people in dreams will represent aspects of yourself and your personality as well. So there was even, for example, one occasion where it showed me like my inner child needed attention, because there was like a baby with fever in the dream, and then there was this really annoying teenager in the dream as well. So it's like, yeah, my inner child and my inner adolescent, kind of thing. So that was really interesting, because it was literally showing me like what I was asking. And dreams will only show you what you need to know, right? It's like, if you don't need to know it, you won't. So don't start asking questions like, am I going to become rich, stuff like that. And maybe it will tell you, if you're meant to know, you will know it. But yeah, so you can start asking these questions, right, like I said, and before you go to bed. And then you're also going to see what happens in your waking reality the next day. For example, maybe there'll be someone posting about a book or something, and if it really pops out, like sometimes you will even see something like maybe the letters will change, or it'll just be magnified or something. You will feel that there's that you have to look at, that's for you. And you got to like really practice on the discernment. Like working on the discernment is like super key. But I can say that I had to go through this whole process of really trusting myself, and it is a big job to work on on our discernment, because we make quote unquote mistakes, and but they can't be mistakes really. It's like it's all a lesson, right? And we have to go through these things. That's why it's like, yeah, no matter what, listen to that intuition, because even if it's off a little bit, maybe you haven't worked on developing it yet, it will lead you to places that will take you to the next step, right? Because for I can think about like how I at first, I'm wanting to upgrade myself and stuff. I started connecting to certain beings or certain energies that for me were good. They felt good. I'm like, oh, this feels interesting. And then I started getting this feeling of like, oh my gosh, like my energy was like just kind of being taken somewhere. Like, but I didn't see that as bad, I was like, oh, this feels interesting. Where is my energy going? I don't know. I was like, but then it changed once I started looking at other things, because then I kept, following those clues as to what I should be doing. I started listening to my inner GPS more, because I noticed that I had been kind of like dissuaded, like kind of like following what other people were doing more than what I thought was right for me. So once you start doing that, it's like you only listen to yourself first and then see what comes up, right? Not the other way around. So then my energy shifted completely. I stopped feeling like it was just going somewhere else. And, like I was saying when I started the recording this, like that lotus breath that we do at the beginning of each session here, session. Well, yeah, each recording. It also helps you kind of like what's it called? What's the word? You're going to reclaim your energy, right? You're not just going to let it be dispersed out there, for any being to take it, or to be depleted from you. You want to keep that integrity within you. And so when I started doing these kinds of practices, like the lotus breath and all these other things, my energy shifted completely. So it felt more like home. So you're going to start finding things that are going to feel more like home little by little, to upgrade your DNA. But first, you might, by trial and error, you're going to go here and there, but keep listening to those signals, right? Of like where it's telling you to go. So yeah, so some things you're going to learn to differentiate what feels more natural to you, versus the other. So some things will feel at first like they are good, like they are for you, but they're not going to be for you, and you're going to notice later on, because you're going to compare to other practices. Sadly, in the spiritual community, once you start wanting to be on this journey, of like spiritual growth, there is a lot of misinformation and a lot of traps and stuff. It's like, for me, I've said this before a lot, but I want to repeat it, because I think it's important for those of you who are new to the podcast. It's like that you fall into the spiritual matrix kind of thing. And so yeah, it's super important to practice discernment, like I said, but without being too scared, to try things and be like, oh, if you hear about all these things that happen to people, and you're like, oh, I don't want that to happen, but hey, the universe will only give you what you can handle. It's not like it won't make you go through something unless you can grow from it. So that's what's important, right? It's like you want to step into the unknown. It's like that's something that's a little hard for us. Like sometimes we like we like certainty, right? We like feeling like we're in control of what happens. But the more you let go of that control, the more the universe can actually surprise you, because the universe is just very magical. The stuff that happens when you start really like letting things flow and reacting from being present. That's super key always. It's like being present, because you don't want to be operating from the past or worrying about the future. They don't exist. It's this is the present is the only thing that exists, really, right? So yeah, the way that you can get DNA upgrades more efficiently is being present as well. right? Same thing with with the stuff that happens, in the cosmos, right? And the alignments and stuff. I've talked about this before. Astrology is like it's based on outdated calculations. So people will tell you that the moon is aligning at a certain constellation when it's not. So you have to do your due diligence and look up and see where the moon is actually aligning, and or the sun, in terms of the zodiacs and all that stuff. That's also off. So that's not the now moment. That's another moment. That's another now moment. What astrology is telling us. So how do you expect to get the upgrades like you should? That they don't want you to. That's another blockage right there. It's like the people that are controlling this system don't necessarily want people to know what is actually happening in terms of the alignments, because they know how powerful these energies can be. And but when you're aware of what's actually happening, it feels so much more aligned, and you're much more open to receiving all these DNA upgrades as well. And also not giving your power away to the moon, for example. A lot of people tend to do that in astrology as well. Yeah, we want to focus more on the sun. The sun gives you a lot of upgrades, like sun gazing in the morning, really early in the morning, late at night when it's setting as well. Those are the best times to go and gaze at it, just for like 15 minutes. You do that. That's another way to get DNA upgrades as well. And you'll feel it. You'll feel it in your body. So, yeah. And what else was I going to say about DNA upgrades? I think that's all I wanted to share today. I wanted to um, talk about maybe some upcoming events. Oh, yes. Okay, just real quick about the one other thing too, for DNA upgrades. Um, because what's the point, right? It's like, why do I want to upgrade my DNA? Like, I'm happy the way I am. Some people might be like, I don't need it. I don't need that, or I have enough, or I don't know. But there are so many things that we should be able to do as human beings that we are not capable of doing yet. One of the things that has been developing a lot in many people, and I know I've done it, it's, for example, telepathy, right? I've been communicating with people, and I know that, they say things, I hear their voice in my head, and then they will respond certain things to me. It was like, oh, they heard what I was saying. It's like, it's super surprising. Oh, you think about someone and then they text you or things like that. Or or sometimes you can see things in the future, like happening. That's not telepathy, but you know what I mean. It's like, or you get like these remote viewings, kind of, like a little bit. And like I said, it's, for me, it's still very messy the way it happens, but I know it's because I've been working on accreting, the higher dimensional frequencies. So the more we activate ourselves, right, the less we will depend on this system, and the technologies that are supposed to be helping us. But in reality, I mean, they are, because we don't have our higher dimensional senses activated as we should. But we're also surrounded by all these other electromagnetic waves and everything, right, that keep us at a lower state of consciousness. So the more we separate ourselves from that, right, the more we will get access to our natural capabilities. Which, yeah, I don't know to what extent, we can do this on this planet, because I was saying that we have all these interferences, right? But I think we could live a much better life, and yeah, be much more aware, and be more creative, be happier, than if we were just to say, well, it is what it is, and that's, I don't need DNA upgrades. um, so yeah, one of my objectives here is to bring that awareness, right, that we can activate ourselves. And this is the way we're going to create societies that are more conscious, and that are going to be more working more towards a future that we can build, um, in which we're all going to be sharing our gifts. It's not going to be a competition, like in this society. It's like all the time. It's going to be more of an exchange of energies, versus everybody feeding off of each other, which is, this is what it looks like, sadly, right now. So yeah. Anyway, yeah, I didn't want to make it too long today. Like I said, I'm still recovering from being sick, and I didn't even plan this one too much in advance because I know a lot of people are gonna be able to catch the recording. So yeah, so I was also going to announce I'm going to be having some guest speakers pretty soon. I'm really excited. I'm not going to say who it is, but some of you might know them. I've got potentially two people coming in, and then events as well. I'm going to be planning a few events here, at least one before summer break. So yeah, stay tuned for that. Check out Dream Scripts if you haven't yet. And oh yes, I also launched a new series of intuitive card readings on my YouTube channel. It's a new YouTube channel that I launched, for the recordings of of the fireside episodes, and I will also be doing some lives on there, and to be sharing a few other things. So yeah. Um, that's all I wanted to share for today. I think I'm going to leave it at that. I will see you guys again next week. Okay. Take care. Bisous.